In this video, we're going to look at web scraping. In our previous text mining videos, we imported from a PDF and then we cleaned up that data and turned it into word clouds and word trees and identified key terminology. What we're going to, in this case, is what we're going to do is we're going to pull and we're going to web scrape. Once you've web scraped, you can do the things you see in the previous video in terms of those word trees, word clouds, and so on. We're going to take a different approach in this video since we've already covered that. After we web scrape, we will then look at some sentiment analysis where we are doing a sentiment analysis that's a pre-trained model, so we don't have to build a neural network. We'll look at more sentiment analysis when we get to neural networks later. All right, so what we're going to be doing is we are going to be using a program called Beautiful Soup. And just a reminder, if you want to work along with us, we are at drstephpowers.github.io/BIA. And you'll see under Chapter 8, Diagnostic Analytics, what is happening. We are doing sentiment without neural networks. And so you can click here, you can open in Google Colab, save a copy, so you can run the code as well. We are going to do some scraping, but also show you how to save your scraping text to your Google Drive so you can call it up later. And so, of course, then we can do our sentiment analysis with the same document in case the website we're scraping changes or they change access to it. One of the challenges with web scraping these days is that with generative AI like ChatGPT, more and more websites are quite concerned that their data is being scraped to build these engines, these AI engines. And so what you have is more and more websites trying to crack down on web scraping, preventing others from pulling the information from their website without paying for it. So more paywalls for news articles, for example, but also implementing bots that identify when the web page is being scraped and shut it down. So that is going to limit our ability to web scrape. So let's take a look at how this works. If you do want to scrape a website, one of the packages you can use is what is called Beautiful Soup. And to do Beautiful Soup, we will need to install requests, HTML5 lib, and BS4. Even if you are not scraping with Beautiful Soup, we can use Beautiful Soup to clean up the information we have scraped. So you'll want to install it even if you use the second method that we look at. It takes a couple minutes to install, so I won't hit run right now. I did right before the video. So what we're going to do is we're going to do import requests, and from BS4, that's for Beautiful Soup, we're going to import Beautiful Soup. So let's get that running. Now, where this is beneficial in terms of web scraping is we want to look at some sentiment. The comments that people are making in terms of reviews, are they positive or negative? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at old Reddit. So old Reddit looks like this, and we can find this article, for example, is about local small businesses that people should know about in Calgary. So we could scrape this information to find out what companies are being positively reviewed in Calgary and which ones are negatively being reviewed. Now I'm using old Reddit because old Reddit, at least a couple days ago, allowed me to scrape it, whereas the new Reddit is prohibiting that scraping. So the challenge you have is you're looking for a website that is static, okay, where the information isn't updated. If we compare this, for example, to like the Amazon website, Amazon uses JavaScript to create their website, which makes it really hard to scrape. So we're looking for something that's more static. That's why everyone scrapes Wikipedia, because it's not immediately updating while you're still looking at the page. And then, of course, we run into the blockers, right? So if, for example, I wanted to scrape this old Reddit page, which is the local small businesses people should know, I'm going to specify the URL, and I'm going to say the data equals request get URL. And then I need an empty list where it is going to put the information. And then I'm going to name this command here, Beautiful Soup, that is going to take the data, which is going to pull from the URL, and then it's going to put it as a text, and we're going to use the HTML parser. So let's see if this works here. And then what we want to do is we want to see what it is we scraped. What does it look like? So it allowed us to scrape this old Reddit page, and you can see it as HTML code. Well, if you don't have training in writing HTML code, it looks like a bunch of gobbledygook, right? So we need to know at least a couple basics about HTML in order to pull usable data from this. A lot of this is formatting, right? Head, body, and then it tells you where there's returns and spaces. So here's what we're pulling. Now, notice that here, this one says, whoa there, partner. Your request has been blocked due to a network policy. So old Reddit, while it scraped it, it actually blocked my scraping because it has identified the beautiful soup as a common web scraper. And so it has basically told me it's not going to provide me any information. If when you go to scrape and beautiful soup doesn't work, like it didn't work here, there is another alternative. It is a less known scraping method, and so it isn't always blocked, at least yet. So if you're going to use URL open to scrape, the way that it works is that we're going to do from URL lib.request import URL open. You then define the URL, and then we're going to say page equals URL open. Open that URL. And then what it's going to do is it's going to read those pages, and it is going to decode them using UTF-8, so it's recognizing that it's HTML language. So let's see if old Reddit has blocked us from this one. All right. Yeah. All right, so since I did this last, they blocked me here as well. So you can try this method in addition to the first one to see if you can get access. We can try, let's see, just to show you how the scraping works. I don't know. What's a topic you want to read about? Let's read about ChatGPT. Okay. So let's go in here. It doesn't help us with our sentiment analysis, but to show you how the scraping works, let's see if I can scrape Wikipedia. Okay, so to scrape Wikipedia with our beautiful soup. Now you can see here, did it actually scrape it? We're looking for text and not a bunch of errors. Formatting. All right, so it looks like I was able to scrape. Oh my goodness. When you do scrape, you get huge files. So I just need to figure out where this is so I can move the cursor up here. Okay, so we can see, right, that this is actually text. We didn't get an error when we scraped Wikipedia with our beautiful soup. We can also try it here if you want to see how it looks. It'll look the same when you create it with the URL open. So it used to be you could scrape all these pages that had reviews on them and pull them for sentiment analysis. That's becoming harder and harder to do. If you have your own website, where you have people's ability to comment, you can of course scrape your own. So just to let you know, this is how you pull the information. Once you pull this information, you can save it to a file by basically you need to link to your Google Drive because that's where it's going to dump it. And then you're going to tell it where to put it and then its name. And then this W means that it's going to write the file. And it is going to just saying, give it name, and we're going to write this file that we called HTML. Okay. If you're using the other one, what did I call that one? Soup, you can write soup. Okay. So you would write this to a text file, and it's a good thing to write it to a text file in case they start blocking it from being able to scrape. So we can write it to a text file. Once you have written it to a text file, what you can do is import it. And so in order for us to do the sentiment analysis here with this old Reddit that I have scraped, what we're going to do is we're actually going to read in this file. So you will find it's called scrape.txt. When you go in to the sentiment without neural networks that you can see here at Dr. Steph Powers, whatever it is, drstephpowers.github.io/BIA, sentiment without neural networks. That's this one right here. What you'll find when you get in here is on the left, somewhere I have the scrape. So here's the scrape that was done from old Reddit before they blocked it. Okay, so save that, click on it, download it, and then let's then look at those reviews. So let's go in and look at how, if we have scraped a website that has reviews, what do we do with it? Okay, so we're going to mount this Google Drive. So remember, when you mount to your Google Drive, all you're doing is giving your Python workbook that's in your Google Drive access to other parts of your Google Drive. You are not giving anyone else access to it. It's just you. So we are going to link to our Google Drive so that we can pull in that scraped text that we have stored. And in my case, I've stored it in a folder called BIBA Handbook and a folder inside that called Chapter 8. You would then, whatever folder you put it in, if it's a folder inside of a folder, then this part here would change for what you have. We're going to use that beautiful soup to read it. So even if you used URL open to do the scraping, we are going to read it. Sorry, I keep hitting this thing. We are going to read it with beautiful soup. So we're going to open this and we're going to do soup. And we're going to read it here. So we're going to read it and we're going to use the HTML parser to make it readable. So we run that, we create this soup. And what we see here is it is the HTML code, which means it has lots of formatting pieces here. As we said before, the HTML has any type of spacing and returns and headers. All that formatting is the part that you see in these little brackets here. All right, so what do we do with that? How do we turn it into something we can do something with? So what we're going to do is we're trying to find, if you have a static HTML website that you have read, then you are going to look for commonalities in it. Oh, I did want to point out one other thing. Let's go back to, can I go back to my Reddit page? Okay, let's go back to our old Reddit. Okay, where'd it go? There we go. So one thing you can do is if pages aren't letting you scrape, you can actually go and just get the HTML code and copy and paste as long as it's a static page. So to do that, so I just want to tell you before I forget, is that if we are at, for example, this old Reddit page and it's blocking me from beautiful soup and URL open to scrape it, what I can do is I can right click and I can view page source. Now this is in Chrome. So if you're in a Chrome browser, you can do it this way, right click view page source. If you are in different browsers, the method is slightly different, but you're trying to get to this HTML. But then I can just take this and save this as a text file. And then this is the same file that I have imported here. So I can take this, and it has the comments in it, it's the same formatting. So this extra step to right click and pull it as HTML this way is a way to get around the blocking for the web scraping. So you could take all of this, copy it, paste it into just a plain text document, save it as a .txt file, and then you could use it as a replacement for what we just pulled in, which is, right, we just opened this text file here. If you had saved that web page and saved it as a txt file, then you could do the same thing from that. So that is one workaround if the scraping is being blocked, at least on static pages. If it is a JavaScript page like Amazon's pages, then the problem we have is that even if you scrape it and you get this set of HTML code. The problem is the next step. So the next step is to find common parts in the code to flag the information we want. So for example, if we are looking at this code here, what we're looking at is we're looking for things that would tell us that here we have a review. So what we can see in this code, in the static website, is that the tags, that's what these are, they're called tags, are the same to denote that we have certain types of information. So I want the comments about the different locations, and you'll notice right before them, it says class equals MD. So Vine Styles is awesome, so is Natalie, class equals MD. I love Vine Styles down in Kensington, class equals MD. Which means if I have a piece here where class equals and then it has some kind of tag, I can then use that to have it pull the pieces that come after. We can also use here class equals live stamp to pull the date and time, because notice every time that we have class equals live stamp, right after it is the actual date and time. So if there is a common naming scheme, a common tag, a class right before the information you want, then you can use the beautiful soup to pull it. So let's do that. Let's go in, and here we're going to say soup red dot select and then dot MD. So what we're looking for here is it's looking for all the pieces where class equals MD. That's what you're telling it with that dot MD, is that it's going to say class equals right before it. Okay, so we go back in, wherever that was. And if I do that, then I'm going to create an empty list we'll call review list. And it is going to then get me the text from review, because it's pulled out. I'll just show you what this looks like. It's going to be a big mess here. Review. So it's going through and it's pulling all of the things that come right after class equals MD. I Sell Little Dolls, Bleed Black Clothing Company, Ellie Bianca, Bathtub Bikers. These are the, it basically gives me the next section after class equals MD is what it's going to pull for you. So it's all of the things right here after MD. Which means then if I create this empty list, I can populate the empty list by pulling just the text, not the other formatting pieces, not the little symbols and codes here. So I can pull just the text from that review for each particular. So every time class equals MD appears, it's going to give me just the text that follows. That's what this code is saying. Okay. And I don't know, you could do range, length, review. You could also just do review. It's going to go through the whole thing. Gives you the same thing. No. Doesn't like that. All right, let's go back. Range, length, review, get text, append. There we go. Okay, well, I'll leave it as is. All right, so it's going to go through the range, through the length of the review, and it's going to append. So what I get when I output that is I get, what you'll notice here is that it's just the text, Wine and Beyond in Legacy, Calgary Chroma Club. Yep, he saved my husband. And so notice here it is a list, right? We have quotes around the text and then a comma and then the next one. And it's removed all of the type of formatting pieces here. With the exception of, say, these /ns, which denote that there's spacing. And so we would need to clean this up, right? We need to get rid of some of the symbols here that have no meaning to us, like this /n that indicates that we have a space. All right, so we have scraped. Then we have used the HTML code to find key tags that tell us that it's the information we want. Then we have used those tags to pull just the text that follows, and we have separated that out into each one of those. So that's what we have here. So then the next part is to clean the text like we did in our text mining previous videos. So we have our function here, clean text, which uses the package import re. And what we're doing is we're removing all of those strange symbols that comes when we scrape. Some of these are from scraping PDFs. We can see that /n that was appearing in our reviews. So this will tackle that. It's also going to deal with any HTML symbols, any URLs, and any emails, right? We don't really need any of that stuff. We just need the key text about the business. We don't need websites and email addresses. So let's run that function. So we've created that function. It's the same one we used in our text mining videos. And then what we're going to do is we are going to loop through that list, and we are going to apply that clean text to every item in that list. Okay. So now you can see much cleaner. Hidden Gem in Kensington, Silver Sage Beef. You can see all those weird symbols are gone. It looks much cleaner. Okay, so now that we have all this commentary, we could then, if we wanted to, create word clouds, do word searches. Here's where we could now apply those same methods we saw in our other text mining videos. We'll stop this video here because in our next video, what we'll do is we'll do some sentiment analysis without neural networks to this information that we've scraped.